risk-taking initially seemed pretty strongly back on the table and boding well for emerging markets like ours. What's your view on where these markets globally are right now, given that we've got the JSE pretty flat?
Yes, we did start quite strong this morning, but I think that as the dollar remains weak, so the carry trade is put on. They start to borrow in dollars and they start to put money in higher earning currencies and commodity countries. So I think it is relatively good for South Africa on the stock exchange side of things, but we just have to watch that dollar closely. It's reached a level now where it's its weakest point in I think about 14 months. We have to see if it's going to strengthen from these levels, but while that dollar is very weak and they say they're going to keep interest rates at these very low levels, so that risk appetite into emerging markets will continue.
Well, certainly it's had an impact on the resources sector. We've seen a bit of a pullback in that space today, but the banking and financial space are pretty strong, managing to sustain gains. What have you made of this turnaround that we've seen in the banking arena over the last couple of sessions?
Yeah, it is quite interesting. I think that the G20 last night said that they're going to continue stimulus packages and stimulus throughout the European economies and the Western economies. And I think that's boosted the financials. People are a little bit worried what happens when those stimulus packages end, and because they're just coming out and saying that they will continue it, I think people are quite happy to invest in the banks, knowing that there is support for the financial institutions around the world, and that is boosting our financials as well.
This despite the fact that we've got our own local banks, Absa and Nedbank alike, both coming out with trading statements that haven't been too positive. Certainly today, Absa saying that they forecast profits down, battling to make cash. So how are you playing the banks right now?
Well, we are definitely lagging the rest of the world in our economy. If we take a look at the business confidence index, again it was lower. So we're still battling there. We saw the cement sales, I think we'll chat about a little bit later, also down quite a bit. So the banks are battling to make really good revenues on the retail side. But there are other, they are starting to lend again, and that increased lending, people are looking forward into 2010, and I think that's why the banks still are being bought up in South Africa currently.
Let's go straight to those cement figures. I mean, cement sales down 16% in October compared with 13.7% in September. We know that the residential space has really not recovered. Commercial building shrinking as well. What does that say to you about the outlook moving forward?
Just shows you how much pressure is on the consumer. The consumers are under a lot of debt, and they are saving as well to try to get rid of that debt. So a really difficult time for the cement market. We start to see properties starting to reach a bottom, but they haven't started increasing in price yet. So I think until we start to see residential properties start increasing in price, the cement sector is going to be under pressure. And we can take a look at PPC. If you had bought it a year ago, it was around 31 Rand 60, and if you take a look at it today, it's around 31.60. So it's had no movement over a period of time in that share price.
In the broader construction space, though, I mean, the general picture has been showing that construction is recovering somewhat. We had good earnings from Esau Frankie last week, Afrimat and Protech as well. So how does that translate to your big construction plays?
I think obviously the infrastructure spend is helping, but I think the construction sector as a whole is slowly slowing down on very, very big projects. So you have to pick the construction company that has really got a strong order book. The roads agencies are spending a lot of money, so you're taking a look at a company like Robex. Wilson Bailey Homes also does quite a lot of roads, and I think road infrastructure is the way forward. And you'd have to take a look at construction companies that won't be losing business after 2010, but will have infrastructure spend and road spend past 2010, and those are the construction companies that you would look at.
On that